Welcome to Goonies World. I am Johnny Farrow, also known as Sean, and with me, as always, is Goonie, also known as Colin.
Well, hello there.
And of course, we have Meanie, also known as Ryan.
Hello.
And of course, we have the lovely Lunicorn, also known as Lynn.
Hey!
We're continuing with our game of Cairn by Yohai Gal. And we won't bother recapping. If you want to know what happened, go listen to the last episode. So there you are, you three. You're in this cemetery. It's dark. You've just beaten senseless some grave diggers who are probably going to die unless they get help from somebody. And you have confronted the last one, Dominic, who tried to run. And he's turned and he told you some things. And he wanted to tell you what was going on if you'd spare his life. And he told you about some brothers, Zoltan and Zaus, who had a sawmill. It was an abandoned sawmill. They inherited it from their uncle, and they moved back from Vienna, where they have had to terminate their studies due to the siege of Vienna by the Ottoman Turks. And that's where we left it, and you had questioned why he might need, or why these brothers might need some bodies, because that's who hired these gravediggers to take the bodies. And you'll recall it's been not just one, but there's been 4 bodies over the course of the last few months. Girl bodies that were stolen from the cemetery. And I believe it was Goonie's character who said that, what did you say again to them right before we stopped last time? And we'll just cut right back to you and Dominic there in the graveyard. I believe you hoped it wasn't for necromantic intention.
Yeah, something like that.
Necro what? Oh, is that when... Oh, no. That's not when folks lie with corpses, is it?
Oh, no, that's something else. That's necrophilia. I'm talking about the reanimating of corpses.
Save us, he says, and he crosses himself. Look, I'm not involved with anything like that. I told you I'd do what I did for the money. I said I had 5 kids in the village of Zipser, don't forget. 5 mouths to feed.
I won't forget.
Yes. So, but it was a deal. I told you, it was the brothers. They're the ones who hired us for all of the girls. But if the deal's a deal, you let me go. I'll go back to Zipser. You'll never hear from me again.
Well, what do you others think? Should we let him go back to his 5 kids?
I am not so sure.
I don't think there's any sort of law enforcement around here.
No law, not in the land right now, what with the throne being contended for by various factions and German mercenaries running everywhere, and no law.
Yes, we are the law, if we want to be. I suppose, though, we could let him off with a warning. I think we could just let him go back to his village and then check up on him and see if he's behaving, see if his kids are getting enough to eat and all that.
That's an excellent idea.
Okay, I think that I can't speak because my tongue is broken.
Broke your tongue, oh poor dear.
Poor dear.
I think we should at least let him off with this. We should at least give him a good spanking.
But no!
Yes. Mama Zabagushka is going to spank you.
he sighs a world-weary sigh of humiliation, but he's also happy to be getting away with his life. And he turns around, and remember that there's a low wall there. So he turns around and bends over the wall. Wait, do I have to get my own switch first?
Now I'll do it with my bare palm on bare buttocks.
Oh no.
That's how Mama Zabagushka does it.
No, please, no.
Drop your trousers.
He looks over at Dobrogos, who he knows was, more than likely to go ahead and end him right here, and he weighs some things in his mind, and a tear rolls down his cheek as he undoes his trousers and bears his bare buttocks under the moon, but there is no moon. There's a new moon tonight, and total cloud cover.
Yeah.
There's a full moon now. That's right. Thank you. And
what?
No.
Bad grave robber. 3.
That's it. Only 3 then.
And more if you don't behave.
Oh. He pulls up his trousers and scrambles over the low wall. And he turns around and runs for the darkness. When he gets to the forest's edge, and you can barely see him at this point on the other side of the fields, the edge of the great Öreg Erdő, the last remnant of the old primordial forest that once covered Europe. He turns around and he looks back, and then you can see his shoulders rise and fall and shake with his sigh as he plunges into the forest in the dark. And that leaves you there alone in the cemetery. You've already paid to sleep on the floor of the Waffelhaus, the tavern here. The Jothriház is actually more like, I think, how it might sound in Hungarian. But I'm butchering the Hungarian language, by the way. And the way I'm speaking, the few Hungarian words I actually looked up. But I think their Waffle House is something like Jothriház. But that's where you've already arranged to sleep tonight. And I don't know, perhaps you would like to venture off into the forest. Of course, I guess you wouldn't know where to go. Some of you have a strong urge, at least one of you has a strong urge to go off into the forest all the time anyway. But these brothers supposedly inherited a sawmill, but where that is you don't know. Perhaps someone in the village would know, and probably not a great idea to go traipsing into the forest in the middle of the night, even though Mama Zabushka says there is no... What's your name again? I'm saying that wrong.
Yeah, it's
Zazabushka.
her real name is Zabagushka.
Zabagushka. Okay, good.
She, people who know her lovingly refer to her as Mama Zabagushka.
Yes. Okay. Well, so where do you want to go?
Yeah, I do think it's probably best to go back into the village and get some sort of idea of where this old sawmill is.
All right.
And
Yeah, perhaps we can pick up some rumors about it while we're there.
and we might even just spend the night and then go in the morning. But Zell has a specific reason for telling everybody that there's no danger in the woods.
I figured as much, because,
But I think she knows that there is.
Well, you guys go back past the old church and down into the village, down the hill into the village of Zomuru, and there you go back into the Waffle House. Now, the 2 Germans who were supposed to be guarding the graveyard that night, Ragnar and Volks, they're not there anymore. But the 3 tradesmen of the town, you were talking mostly to Zoba, the tailor. There's also EPTs, the carpenter, and Sipo, a shoemaker. But they're still playing gammon at the table after all these hours. And Abel, the proprietor, was of course still there. So, any ghouls in the night? Any necromancers? Says Abel.
We only ran across some simple grave robbers, but we did learn of someone who has paid them, and we haven't yet to speak. Well, it's more than one. It's two brothers you may have heard of, and we were probably told about them before, but
What those brothers did to Zabo, I call him Zobo now. Zabo the tailor comes over to you where you're getting settled, and says, yes, brothers. Yes, there was Zoltan, I believe, and Zaus. They were the nephews of the old fellow who had the sawmill. But, of course, he died of grief after the death of his son, Bella, and left the sawmill there. Well, it sat there for years, of course, until the siege at Vienna. And then these two brothers, looking for a place to flee since they could not continue their studies, came back and took the house, the inheritance, the old sawmill. It's not far from here. You must follow a black creek into the forest. There's a path next to the creek, of course. And a roundabout way would eventually lead to Zipser, the village there. Then the lands of Lady Arzabet, but those are far from here and outside of our purview. But we have only seen them when they come to do work for the father Atya. Since the Undertaker, of course, died some time back.
Yes.
Yes. But, so you're saying that they're involved somehow, says Zabo.
They have informed us that they were paid by these brothers.
Now, just a minute, says Abel, the proprietor. You say you talked to these grave robbers?
Yes.
Well, where are they?
They've retreated back into the forest with a stern spanking.
Oh, all of them? How many were there? 3 or 4?
Were there 3?
Well, where happened to...
Yeah.
Oh, so all of them ran away?
And 2 of them were put out of commission.
What, are you saying they're dead?
Not exactly, but they could be if no one helps them, and we didn't help them. They're grave robbers.
Yes.
Probably working for a necromancer.
There are bodies laying in the cemetery right now, says Epites, the carpenter.
Yes,
Yes.
What are you so concerned about?
They must not lie out in the night. Besides that, you say, they could still be alive. They could face our justice. Yes, justice must be done. For all the families of those girls who are now... Those girls cannot be taken up at Judgment Day now, for they've been dug up, says all. I say we go out and get those men.
What sort of vigilante justice did you have in mind?
What justice is there in this world anymore? They will be put to death.
Okay.
Well, Zabo and Epites and Sipo, in fact, Abel too, leaving you here alone in the Waffle House, gather up torches and they go out into the night. And Lord only knows what they get up to out there. You've been offered a place on the floor here, so I assume you'll take it. It's comfortable enough for a floor. I mean, it's perhaps better than a, flea-ridden mattress in an upstairs room somewhere far from the fire. But you stretch out and one by one drift off to sleep. And just as you've gotten into a deep sleep, you wake up by the door opening and the group coming back in, not boisterously. All of them look rather shaken. One of them has a bloody pitchfork, and they just quietly walk up to the bar where Abel pours out some drinks, and they quietly and silently drink. And unless you want to talk to them in their silence, I'll assume you roll over and drift back to sleep and get what sleep you can. Perhaps they're just shaken by their deeds, having perhaps never killed anyone before.
Yeah, it's grisly business.
It is grisly business. I guess Mama Zabushka knows a little something about it, maybe? We don't know.
Maybe.
Let me ask you this. As we drift through the night, how many, of your characters, who thinks you have killed somebody before?
I don't think Dobrogos has killed anybody. I think he would lie about it and say that he has.
I don't think Barbie probably has either. Barbie is more of an undertaker, and I'm assuming that's what a bone keeper is like an undertaker type. So he's dealt with a lot of death, but has not dealt death. Her. She has not dealt death herself, but she has dealt with a lot of death.
Yes. Well, Barbie the Bone Keeper is very ambiguous anyway, because you can't really see her face ever. And
That's true.
So, anyway, after a night...
Could be Brett Michaels under there with that big, long, blonde ponytail.
Brett Michaels. Yeah.
You never know.
Could be. Yeah, Brett Michaels in the dead of the night. We need a... Every Rose Has Its Thorn song with necromantic or grave robbing lyrics now. So Ryan's like challenge accepted.
The first thing, the first line of the song is "We both lie silently." So they both lie silently still, but not for long. Basically,
Mama Zabaguska's gonna spank you. Yes, she is.
I actually have a thorn as well.
You have a thorn.
Oh, nice.
Briar thorn.
At least Dominic did not get spanked with the briar thorn. So you saved him that indignity.
He should count himself lucky.
But you wake up the next morning. It's cold. Fire's all died down. You can eat the congealed remains of the previous night's food. The men are all completely passed out. They seem to have drunk themselves into a stupor. And the light that's coming in through the small windows is still very gray. When you poke your head outside, you can see the day will certainly warm up, but the sun hasn't come back out. It's just that featureless, leaden sky. And again, it's been that way most of the year. It's been a bad year. And so... I guess you hard decided you're probably going to go. You acted like you were going to go see Zoltan and Zaus and get to the bottom of all this. Maybe that's what led you into the forest in the first place, although I know you all have slightly different reasons for being here. But as you head out towards the edge of town, the only directions you have are to follow the Black Creek. And the water is not at all black. You're not sure why it gets that name, but that enters into the forest towards the southwest. It's not the same. It's not quite right where Dominic went into the forest last night, but it's not that far off. And you follow the creek that runs along beside you. And once again, there's just a few bits of a column-like silvery light shining through the trees. And as you're moving along in the forest, following the creek, there are strange signs carved into the trees all over the place. They look like a cross, but they're inside a triangle, like an upside-down triangle with a cross superimposed into it. And these are posted up almost everywhere. I don't know if anyone has an occult or supernatural background where they think they might recognize something like that. But
yeah, I'm a half witch, but I don't think that's something. She's probably more of like a, nature type of magic user.
Well, it definitely seems like it's not something that's meant to be hidden. It's not some secret signs that woodsmen put up. It's almost like wards or signs for some purpose, but they're quite obvious. There is a path that goes more or less along the creek, to the village of Zipser, but it's really more of a muddy trail. Up ahead, though, there's a rock covered with moss. It almost blocks the trail, but you have to kind of splash down into the creek. And there's a great big tree that has kind of grown up probably long after the boulder has been sitting there, so the roots on that side of the tree are growing kind of up and around the boulder, almost look like they're clutching it, right? And you hear this tiny little meep, 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 meeping sound from that direction, right around that boulder.
Are you all hearing the meeping?
I hear it, but I don't know. I don't recognize it.
No, I don't recall ever hearing a soft meeping sound.
Well, you want to go check it out, or hurriedly move past?
It has got my attention.
Yes, it might be Meeples.
Give us some meeples. You know, It's a long way from Carcassonne, sister. All right. But, well, you go up and you look on the other side of the boulder, and in that little crevice that's created by where the clutching fingers, the roots are surrounding the boulder, there's what at first you think is a little baby, but it's a pink, hairless thing about the size of a human baby. Got huge owl-like eyes and almost a bit of a beak, and some light downy feathers and fur all over it. Feathers around his head and shoulders, and some light fur all over its body, but with a lot of pink showing through. It's almost like some weird hybrid of a baby owl and a baby bear. And it's been injured. You can see its little leg is like cracked to one side, and it looks up at you with those great big eyes.
What do we have here?
Let's help him.
Well, clearly everybody knows this is an owl bear.
Yes, and this culture is not one in which the owl bear is widely recognized as a... But metagamingly speaking, what it seems like is a baby owl bear. Although in this particular setting and universe, you've never heard of an owl bear.
Well, it's cute, whatever it is. We should help it. It's just a baby.
It appears to be injured. I think we should attempt to tend to
It wants its mama, and its mama is nowhere in sight, so I can be its mama.
Well, does that mean you want to not only heal it, but take it with you?
Yes, I will tend to its wounds. I do have some herbs. Yes.
Set its leg, perhaps?
Yes.
All right. Well, it struggles at first. And,
Now stop that! Stop that!
You know. Now to administer some herbs that will bolster its health, that's no problem. You don't need to make rolls to do that. You do need to stop for a little bit and make a little fire, you know, and get a stew going and boil some of these herbs. But setting the broken leg that the little baby thing has is another matter entirely. And so even the best of trained physicians could screw that up. But why don't you give that a trial? This little leg. It's really more of a matter of dexterity at this point. Unless you can make an argument. Unless you can make an argument that it should be more about your will and your knowledge. I suppose I would entertain that, because I just remembered you have like a dexterity of 5.
Yes. And my will is like 17. And, I mean, I do have like actual herbs that restore 1 strength. But I'm sure she has some experience with this sort of stuff.
Why don't we go ahead and call it will?
Okay.
All right. Now, and again, you don't have to roll to make it feel better, but to roll to fix his broken leg, set it right, is what we're talking about here now.
All right. Oh, I rolled a 4.
Okay. Well, the baby thing cries out, of course.
I would have got it even if I had did the dexterity roll.
Yeah. And if you guys think of it as anything, it's probably a baby monster, and that much is kind of obvious. But it cries out and struggles, of course, because it hurts. But,
Hush.
of course, setting a leg would hurt. And you're able to tie it off.
Hush now, little Meep.
I hope its distress cries do not attract its mother.
Yeah, so...
So do you want to take him with you in a little papoose and be its mommy now? Or do you want to leave it here?
Oh, I will have to take it with me. We'll call it Meep.
I think we should care for it at least until we find its mother.
But if we find its mother, we're dead.
Yes, hopefully we won't run into... But I believe the mother has run off somewhere, has gone off to meet with other strange owlbears, and has gone on a bender, and I'm the only one now that can take care of this poor little creature.
Well,
On a bender.
Whoring,
You know how owlbears do.
whoring and drinking like most mothers.
Okay, Norman Bates.
that's
Norman
right.
Yeah.
Bates.
It's true.
Well, I assume that you'll go ahead and find a way to carry your little Meep safely.
Yes. And
And
I wonder what it eats. Probably worms, I suppose. Oops.
yeah, I guess that would be the next step, is trying to, feed this little thing.
And of course, it's at least part bird. We'll have to feed it in the traditional way.
Mama Zabagushka's gonna be like chewing up worms.
Yeah. I think my last character in the last game also suggested chewing up some jerky to feed.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do the old-fashioned way. Well,
Something bad happens. I have cat aggro right now.
okay.
We have cat butthole on screen.
Yeah, cat
Yes,
butthole on
there's a
screen
cat
right
butthole
now.
on screen. Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Waylon. Thank you for your presence. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of him.
All right. Well, as Lynn is getting rid of her cat, and yeah, she's gonna take care of him, But as she's taking care of him, we will move on down the little path, which meanders a bit as the creek meanders. Again, it just follows the creek, which trickles along, and you can hear the crows. Now, I know that your friend Barbie has mentioned to you before that she says she can hear songs and the sounds of the birds and the crickets and whatnot. But as you're walking along, you can hear some crows. Crows, they're pretty unmistakable sound. And at first it sounds like normal crow sound. But as you're walking, you realize what you're hearing is going, east, 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 east.
These must be
East,
eastern crows.
east, east, east.
I've had some experience with crows, and they do speak sometimes. I've
What?
not heard them say east before. I don't know what to make of it.
Well, if you keep walking past a certain point, and you get to the bottom of a hill, suddenly you don't think they're saying east, east, east anymore, but they say north, 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 which would mean turning around. North, north, north.
They're trying to confuse us, get us lost, so they can peck out our eyes.
And so, what do you think? Do you try to go in the direction that they're calling out, or does that sound like a terrible, terrible idea?
I think that is
North.
a terrible idea to follow these deceiving crows.
Yes, they're trying to trick us. Crows are wily. Devil's work.
Devious.
If they are
Carrion
trying,
feeders.
if they are trying to give you directions, they're trying to take you off the path you're on. Certainly, perhaps you wisely let that be for a bit longer, and eventually they do die out. Now you would walk down a hill. As I say, the creeks run down into a valley now, and it takes a sharp turn around a great big old glacial boulder that itself is again clawed upon by trees and covered with vegetation that blocks your view of the creek. But you hear crying sounds, a woman crying. Not sad, but like... It's on the other side of the boulder, though, where the creek makes a turn around this great boulder. And so it'd be just where you turn left in the path.
Don't be fooled by her crying. Could be another siren call to lead us astray.
Your little baby monster, Meep, makes sympathetic meep when he hears it.
Is that your mother?
Please. A sudden, like spasm of pain.
Sounds like she has been injured. I can't spare any more herbs. Certainly not on a bad mother like her. But perhaps we should not speculate. We should approach cautiously.
All right. Well, you creep up to the great ancient boulder, and you peer around it where the creek makes its hard left turn. And there's a bear trap that's been triggered, and a woman lies there with her leg caught in the bear trap. She's completely naked. Her legs caught in the bear trap. She has really, really long hair, and it's kind of like covering her. So if this were a movie, it'd still be PG-13. Although I don't know why, with all the cemeteries and the spanking and the, everything else. We got to keep this a CG. We got to keep this a PG-13 so we can CGI the owl bear and have it out by Christmas. But we'll sell little baby Meep toys in all the stores. But anyway, she hasn't noticed you yet. But she's obviously crying because of the pain in her leg, and she's tried to pull it out and she's caught. But suddenly, though, once you stand there for a bit, she does turn around. Please help me. The hinge, please. It hurts so badly. Please, I beg you, please.
Well, Dobrogost will definitely, kneel down and try to
open the trap.
Careful.
And she springs out of it, and suddenly her body twists a little bit, and hair completely covers it, and her snout comes straight out, and she becomes a huge hybrid wolf woman form. But after turning around and snarl at you, dashes into the woods. It's still heavily wounded, not in a position to hurt anyone. But she rushes off. Do you want to chase her deeper into the woods or let her go?
Have a nice day.
I think, I don't know if I'm going to be so friendly. And if she is kind of limping and not going so fast, I might try to run after her.
Well, I think she can probably go about as fast as an old woman. So why don't you make a dex test to see if you can catch up with her as she plunges deep into the woods.
All right.
No. No? Okay. Well, of course, you're not very fast anyway, No. And does anyone else rush after Mama Zabagushka?
Come on. Come on, Barbie.
To get what? To get this creature, what must be a werewolf. I mean, they tell stories.
Come on, Barbie. Let's go party.
He might be less inclined to attack us if we let it go.
It's wounded.
Maybe he'll tell his werewolf friends or her werewolf friends, and and then the werewolves will leave us alone.
No, that is faulty logic.
Apparently, Barbie is an optimist.
Barbie is a
Thinks the best of people
Dumb.
or something.
moron.
Well, I assume you'll move on. You're not going to chase down this wounded werewolf.
Yeah, I can't chase her down, so she's probably
Okay.
getting
Well,
away.
Well, you've done. It looks like at least 2 good turns for the monstrous community of Öreg Erdő here so far. Now, why there's this great big bear trap here? Whether anyone else knows there's a werewolf and is hunting it? You had to pry the trap apart. Do you want to? So it's laying there reset. Do you want to set it off or leave it open?
Oh, I mean, if it can catch another monster, I don't see the harm in resetting it.
All right.
It could be here to trap children and things like that, though.
Oh no, those look different. They're much more subtle, and there's no candy as bait.
All right. Well, you move on, and now you're actually moving a bit to the east. Now, and you haven't heard any directions shouted by crows, though. But the forest gets really thick here. I mean, it seems like twilight under here, even though it wasn't all that bright and sunny outside anyway. The shafts of light that come through the canopy are extremely dim, just the lightest silver gray. And there's a whole bunch of hanging moss here, and the trees grow quite high. Suddenly, up ahead in the trees, you hear what can only be like a high-pitched giggling sound, and suddenly there's a swinging sound as if the trees, the rustling in the leaves above you. You look up and there's a huge log swinging down at you, attached to ropes. Everybody make dexterity saves to jump out of the way, because Ewoks are here.
Yeah.
No, but it's the exact same track.
Oh, no.
I accidentally grabbed my high rolling 20.
Oh well. So sounds like we have a who didn't get out of the way. I know. You all failed.
I think we all failed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully no one gets hurt too bad. Actually, Dobrogost got really lucky. You only took 1 point of damage, so if you have any armor at all, that's going to soak that. You more like got winded and knocked on your ass by it. Barbie, on the other hand, takes 9 points of damage. And, And then, old Mama Zabagrushka takes 7 points of damage. Remember, if you have any armor, go ahead and deduce that. But, and then it smashes into the nearest tree behind you. And there's all kinds of laughter from up in the trees. And then, half a dozen small figures seem to fall down, but actually are jumping down out of the trees not far from you. Now, Barbie, you have a very frightened look on your face.
Yeah, that's critical for me, so.
Are you at exactly 0, or are you under 0?
I am -1 on hit
Same
points.
here.
Okay. Well, in that case,
So I do believe I need to make a strength test at a -1.
that's right. And so both of you do.
Yep.
Passed.
Ooh,
I got a 4.
I got a 5.
Okay. So, you'll be all right, but you're down with strength. Now, you can get your hit points back, recall, with just a short rest. But, unfortunately, 6 little creatures have jumped out. And I don't think a short rest is going to be immediately possible. But everybody make dexterity rolls to see if you go before or after these hideous little creatures. Now, their skin looks like bark, and their arms almost look like roots. But other than that, you can think of them as goblins. And you had heard tale of something called root goblins deep in the woods, and maybe that's what these things are. But who made their dexterity test just now? Okay. So you're going to go first, Barbie, and then these little root goblins are going to go, and then Dobra Ghost will go, and then finally Mama Zabagushka will go. But, so, what do you do, Barbie? Now you're hurt. You've been knocked on your ass. You stand up and do what?
I'm going to use my sling.
All right. So hurling a stone at one of the goblins.
3 points
All
of
right,
damage.
you hit one. You cry out. Grabs its head where you hit it. Seems like it knocked its head back pretty far. And meanwhile, then they suddenly hurl these little wobbly javelins at you that's into the air. And there are 6 of them. Each of them hurls one. Or all of them hurl javelins. But most of them hurl them at Dobra Ghost, who they can tell isn't hurt. But, oh my, well, do you have any armor at all? Because I won't even tell you if it's, you know. All right.
I do not.
Okay, you get hit for another 1 point of damage, and then another 2. And another one also hits you for a further 2. But then, Mama Zabagushka, even though she's been knocked on her ass, is also hit with 1 for 1. And you, Barbie, 2 of the little javelins stick into you, or one javelin sticks into you for 2 points of damage. So all 6 of them have hurled their little javelins. And those of you who took damage again, since you haven't had a chance for a short rest, must unfortunately make that save. Now, I kind of wish somebody had been reduced to exactly 0, because in this system, if you get exactly 0, there's this cool little stripped-down Warhammer-style critic or hit table, but it doesn't count if you go below. It's only right at 0. But, so...
I got right on my strength.
Okay, good. So you're still in the fight. How about Barbie?
Barbie failed the strength test.
Tell that when you had that glum look on your face. So, Barbie's wearing a plague doctor's mask, so you can't see her eyeballs roll up into her forehead as she falls to the ground, but she does. She falls to the ground, lays there, the little plague doctor beak just sticking straight up, and much to the malicious laughter of the root goblins. But it is Dobra Ghost's turn. Poor Barbie never got a turn. So.
Well, fortunately, Dobra Ghost is down 2 strength, but he rolled a 1 on his...
oh, great. So he's still on 2. But you're all hurt
so.
pretty bad by these root goblins after that trap. And what do you do?
Well, he's going to dagger a root goblin, or attempt to.
All right.
For 4 points.
Well, actually, that one... screams out. A big chunk of wood comes off of him, and that root goblin is at exactly 0. I'll tell you that right now. Now, he's not got a test for anything, but he's not going to stay and fight to the death over this sort of thing, and he immediately ducks off into the bushes. And we are back up what we will call the top of the round. So Barbie is out of it, however. And so, no, I didn't let Mama Zabagushka go in her last turn. She's still up. So what do you do, Mama Zabagushka?
Well,
one of them's effectively run off. One of them was hit pretty bad by the sling stone. There's still 4 more of them, though.
I had a maybe bad idea.
There are no bad ideas. Go ahead and burn the forest down. Wouldn't be the first time you've done it.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking. Since these are kind of wood, they're root goblins, I have a torch, and let's see if they burn.
I think you're thinking along the right lines. So you rush up to one and set the torch to it. And instead of rolling damage, it has to make a strength test or go up. And it does. It's a dex test. It'll go up, and it does, and it takes 3 points of damage, and that was one that was already wounded by the sling, so now they're just the 4. when it lies down on the ground, now there are no rules in Cairn to see if a forest fire is started accidentally if there's a little burning root goblin lying in heavy foliage, but I think that there's at least a very small chance of that. And so, well, I rolled an 80, and that was much higher than the chance I was looking at for it to happen. So, no forest fire will be started, but there's some smoldering there. And now, Barbie would normally get to go here, but Barbie's out of it. And so, we still have 4 more of our little friends. And they rush in their little claws and do only 1 point of damage to Dobrogost and 1 point of damage to Mama Zebergushka. Well, you gotta love the D4. But again, every little bit of critical damage here is dangerous.
Yep, and it gets harder and harder to make.
Harder and harder. I know. I like the system. I like it. But I like the way that works. It's better than just dying at 0, but...
Yeah.
Dobrogost.
Oh no!
I rolled a 16.
Oh no! Mama Zabagushka, how about you?
I rolled a 6, so I'm still okay.
Okay, you're still up, man. It's up to you now. It's up to you. You can hear the little sigh snoodles like laughter of the hideous little root goblins. You still got your torch. What do you do?
Yeah, I will try to burn another one.
Okay.
I wish
other
I had...
things you could try to do would be like intimidate them to run away or come up with some trick, things like that.
Yeah.
So, the system's pretty permissive on extra things you can do in combat, making people trip, disarming them. Don't forget about any of that stuff. I mean, essentially on your turn, in this or any other end of the odd-based system, you can either do damage to somebody or you can make them make a roll. And so...
Does anyone have any accelerant? I don't.
I do. I have oil for a lantern.
Oh my.
Well, I have oil and a
my.
lantern. So,
Well,
yes.
yeah, I mean, I guess I probably have a lantern. Well, I didn't. I just have a torch. So, but since Barbie is down, maybe I know she has a lantern and she's going to have fuel for the lantern. So, I might, when on my turn, I would try to grab the lantern and
oh yeah,
oil.
You reach down and you grab the lantern. You can hear the oil sloshing around in it. If you were to light it and hurl it, I would treat it as like a blast weapon. That would have an area of effect attack. Yeah, that's a great idea.
That's what I'll do.
Okay.
But that probably relies on fucking dexterity.
No, it doesn't, because you just automatically do damage. Don't forget.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we have no to hit roll in this system.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make that an enhanced attack at, shit. I rolled 12 points of damage for each of them on this D12 enhanced attack. Now, they have 4 hit points, right? They just go up, and first thing they're going to do is rush for the creek, right, and try to, douse themselves in it. But it's too late to save their woody little rotten lives, but it prevents a forest fire from going off. And so, now, though, as they sit there and smoke in the water, you've got to tend to your friends now. And of course, this means wait. Now they're going to be hurt until they have a long rest. All of you will be until you have a long rest. Your strength, so probably not in the rest of this adventure. But you can still at least wake them up, give them some water. Everybody rest for at least a short time. Get your hit points back. You're at the reduced strength still.
Yeah, and I do have this, I can increase 1 strength with these herbs. And it says 3 uses. I don't know if you counted the owlbear as 1, but...
Well, I was going to, at the time, I was going to suggest you not waste it on the owlbear, so why don't you go ahead and say you haven't, because you obviously need it.
Okay.
Now, luckily, the owlbear's fine. It's laying there. Meep, 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 meep.
Okay, so while we're taking our short rest to get our hit points, I'll just use the herbs on all of us because we're gonna need our strength as high as it can be.
Yeah.
And that'll take care of all. That'll be the last, unless I can get some more somewhere. But
Okay.
so that's one strength back.
Well, that's great. Now, those little root goblins seem mostly naked for the most part, but they have some leaves and almost a ghillie suit like you do, kind of. But one of them is actually like a heavy plaque on their person. You notice after you tend to your friends and you guys are sitting up and breathing deeply and stretching and drinking your water. And see, one of the root goblins actually has a spell. Now, spells in this system, which come straight out of Knave, they take up an inventory slot. They're either interpreted as one big, huge book or like a big metal plaque with the spell engraved on it. But one of these root goblins did have a spell, the spell Push Pull, which will push or pull any object with the strength of a man. So I guess if a man was capable of moving an object, this spell would do that. And so you have either pushing or pulling it. Because it's a widely known fact that root goblins love spell books. They prize them, even if they don't even know how to use them. It's something that they're always after. But they do love waylaying and hassling travelers. But
well, I will assume that my companions have no experience with spells, but I already have one spell. I will take another if no one strongly protests.
all right. Well, go ahead and write that down and recall that will take up an inventory slot. Now, this game does have inventory rules that, since we're not really role-playing a long journey in a campaign over time, we probably won't get into. But just so our listeners know, it has a very simple inventory system to what is basically an Into the Odd and Knave mashup. But if you ever start to feel like you are going to get, in danger of carrying too much stuff around, you let me know. But moving along, you haven't gone very far, but all that took some time. It's up into the mid-afternoon at this point, at least a little bit afternoon, and you move along, and the creek now plunges down another hill. So you've been going almost down these terraces that are hidden inside Öreg Erdő, moving downward, and the air gets closer, and feels a little cooler as you move further down, and the creek trickles back to the right and it heads down the hill, and at the base of it, you're all shocked when stepping out from right in front of you, and then on all sides of you are men wearing hoods. Now you'd heard some rumors of root goblins, but you had also heard rumors of hooded men who lurk in the woods. And all these hooded men, and you can't see their faces at all, they're hidden behind hoods, and they have great big long cloaks like ponchos that obscure their hands. But all of them flip open their cloaks, and raise short bows in your direction. There are at least a dozen of these hooded men, and on when one of them flicks his cloak aside, you can see part of a sign that he has painted onto his tunic that he wears under that, and it is an upside down cross, an upside down triangle with a cross superimposed on it. It's the same sign that you saw engraved in the trees. Go no further, says one of the voices.
Who are you?
We are the hooded men. We protect this forest. We protect Öreg Erdő. Now, The root goblins, you did what you had to do. They're natural here. You will not be punished for what you have done to them. The little thing that you carry is not of this earth, and we will have it, and we will destroy it.
No, sir, you will not.
And I'm gonna cast something. I'm gonna cast
Okay.
a wall. Let me see. Oh, thicket, 50-foot wide.
Great.
Wall of vines and stuff,
Okay.
blocking them entirely.
All right. Well,
And then we're gonna run, right?
I think that's wise.
50-foot wide tall thicket springs up, creeps up around the trees, grows right across the creek, and at least for now, blocks them from your sight, and you turn and run. All to protect little Meep. Meep. Now, whether or not these guys can penetrate that thicket and chase after you, we'll find out in our next episode. So we'll see you then.
Hey everybody, if you like our podcast, don't forget to leave us a good rating and or review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Spotify, or wherever you're able. Subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at Goonies_world, and check out our website at GooniesWorldPodcast.com. Email us at GooniesWorldPodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.